Hello students, welcome to our channel SD Biology classes. In my last video, I have discussed about the meristematic tissue, the tissue which are always in the dividing stage. Afterwards, what is the fate of those cells which are formed due to the division of the meristematic tissues? Some part of those cells add new number of cells in the growing region of the plants, whereas the remaining parts of the cells grow, mature and lose the power of divisions. And this collection of cells which lose the power of division is called as the permanent tissue. So, in this video, we will know more about the permanent tissue. Let's start it. So, students, in this video, we are going to know about the idea about permanent tissue, the different types of permanent tissues, and the features or the characteristic features of three types of simple permanent tissue, or by which we can identify the three types of simple permanent tissues, and the most important part, that is trivia, that includes some important facts about the permanent tissue, and the assignment part. So let's go for it. Okay students, now first of all we will know about what is permanent tissue. The cells of the tissue which lose the power of division or which do not have the capability to divide is called as the permanent tissue. So what are the features of the permanent tissue? First of all, they have no power of division or they have no capacity to divide. That means these cells cannot divide further. Second feature, they composed of the mature cells. That means what? The cells which lost the power of divisions, those cells grow and mature. So that's why it is told that they are composed of the mature cells. They are formed by division and the differentiation of meristematic tissues. So these cells are formed from where? When the plants are growing, that time the meristematic tissues are present that help in the growth of the plants. The cells which don't have the power of divisions, they arise from the meristematic tissue. That means what? Some of the meristematic tissues lose the power of division and they are changed into the permanent tissue by the division, by growth of those cells and by the maturation of those cells. After the growth and maturations, some differentiation occurs in those cells and they are changed into the permanent tissue. Now, there is a question, what is the meaning of the differentiation? Differentiation means what? That after the growth and maturation of the cells, when the cells do not undergo any further divisions, they have or they attain certain changes or they develop some specialized features within them. Some structural changes occur in those cells and this process is called as the differentiation. So, due to differentiation, the cells which are developed from the meristematic tissues, they lost the power of divisions and due to differentiation, they are changed into different types of permanent tissues. Later on, we will know about those different types of permanent tissue. But what are the other features of the permanent tissue? Other features are those, the cell is made up of cytoplasm, nucleus and also it has a large vacuole. The cells have a large vacuole. In case of meristematic tissue cells which do not have the vacuoles, but here the permanent tissue cells have the vacuoles within it, and due to presence of the vacuole, the cytoplasm is present at the periphery of the cell. The cell wall can be thin or thick. The cell wall can be thin or thick. In this case, intercellular spaces are present. Usually intercellular spaces are present, and some cases the intercellular spaces can be absent also due to the deposition of the secondary cell wall materials. So these are the few basic features of the permanent tissue. Now let us learn about the types of the permanent tissue. So students, till now we have learnt about the basic features of the permanent tissue. Now, what are the basic types of permanent tissue? Permanent tissue are mainly of two types, the simple permanent tissue and the complex permanent tissue. The permanent tissues where the cells or the permanent tissue which is made up of similar type of cells having same function, that is called as the simple permanent tissue. That is, they are made up of homogeneous type of cells. Homo means same. Whereas the permanent tissue which is made up of structurally different types of cells having same function, that is called as the complex permanent tissue. We can call the complex permanent tissue as the heterogeneous type of cells are present in the complex permanent tissue, as the cells are of different types in case of the complex permanent tissue. But in this slide or in this video, we will discuss about the simple permanent tissue. So students, first of all, we will know about what are the different types of the simple permanent tissue. So till now we have learned that simple permanent tissues are made up of the same type of cells having same functions also. So what are the different types of it? First one Parenchyma, second one Collenchyma, and the third type is Sclerenchyma. So these are the three basic types of the simple permanent tissue. Now we will know more about Parenchyma, Collenchyma and Sclerenchymatous type of tissue. So students, first of all, we will know about the parenchymatous tissue. The parenchymatous tissues are formed when the meristematic tissues or when the cells of the meristematic tissues lose the power of divisions. So these cells of the parenchymatous tissue are just formed from the meristematic tissues. So this type of permanent tissue is called as the simple permanent tissue, as well as it is also called as the primary permanent tissue. So what are the features of the parenchymatous tissue? First of all, from the picture also you will get the idea of the parenchymatous tissue, that the main feature of the parenchymatous tissue is that the cells are of living cells. The tissue is made up of living cells. As it is made up of living cells, so the nucleus, prominent nucleus is present and cytoplasm, dense cytoplasm is also present. Now, the cell is surrounded by the cell wall. The cell wall of the parenchymatous tissues, that is the cells which are present in the parenchymatous tissue, the cell wall is thin, as it is just directly formed from the meristematic tissue. So here also the cell wall is thin. Now, what is the chemical composition of the cell wall of the parenchymatous cells? The chemical composition, that is the cell wall of the parenchymatous cells, are made up of cellulose. The cell wall is made up of cellulose. The cells can be arranged just one after another, or there can be some gaps. That means what? The intercellular space can be present or cannot be present. In case of onion peel cell, we have seen that onion peel cells are made up of the parenchymatous tissues and there the intercellular spaces are absent. But as the cell wall is thin, so maybe there is a chance of the intercellular space also in case of parenchymatous tissues. Now, so these are the main features of the parenchymatous tissues. Now, what is the function of the parenchymatous tissue? The main function of parenchymatous tissue is the storage of different substances. The main function is storage of different substances. It also helps in photosynthesis. And also helps in secretion of some substances like mucilage. So these are the basic functions of the parenchymatous tissues. Now we will know about second type of permanent tissue, that is collenchymatous tissue. So students, first of all, we will know about the collenchyma, the second type of simple permanent tissue. Who has coined the term collenchyma? The term collenchyma was coined by Sladen. So students, first of all, we will know about the features of the collenchymatous tissue. What are the different features of it? First of all, From the picture, also we have seen that the collenchymatous tissue's cell wall is much thicker than the cell wall of the parenchymatous tissues. So first feature is that here also the cells are living. That is, collenchymatous tissues are also made up of living cells. What kind of cell wall they have? They have thick cell wall. Cell wall is thick. But the thickness is found out specifically at the corner of the cells. Cell wall are thick, but the thickness is more at the corner of the cells. So the corner of the cells are more thicker in case of the cell wall of the collenchymatous tissues. And the chemical composition of the cell wall of collenchymatous tissue is made up of pectin. It is made up of pectin. In case of parenchymatous tissue, the cell wall is made up of cellulose only. Here, in addition to cellulose, another component is present, that is pectin. So students, here we have seen that the cell wall materials are present more at the corner of the cells. So due to this more deposition of the cell wall material in case of the collenchymatous tissue, the intercellular space are absent. The intercellular space are absent. So remember, in case of parenchymatous tissue, the intercellular space can be present or cannot be present. But in case of collenchymatous tissue, due to deposition of the secondary cell wall material like pectin, the intercellular space can be absent. So these are the basic features of the collenchymatous tissues. Now what is the function of the collenchymatous tissue? The collenchymatous tissue gives the mechanical support to the plant in little amount, as well as it gives the flexibility to the plants also. We have seen that during heavy storm, the plants, the branches, they almost going to break down, but again it come into its original position. This flexibility is possible due to the presence of the collenchymatous tissue. So main function of collenchymatous tissue is giving the mechanical support and flexibility to the plant body. Now we are going to know about the third type of simple permanent tissue, that is sclerenchymatous tissue. Now students, see, this is the picture of the sclerenchymatous tissue. Who has coined the term Sclerenchyma? The term was given by Metenius. The term was given by Metenius. Now we are going to know about the basic features of the sclerenchymatous tissue. Here, these are the sclerenchymatous tissue. These are the sclerenchymatous tissue. So, first of all, inside the tissue, can you find out any other structure like nucleus, prominent nucleus that we can see in case of the parenchymatous tissues? No, those structures are absent. That means what? The cells of the sclerenchymatous tissues are dead. So, they are made up of dead cells without cytoplasm and without nucleus. And second thing is that the cell wall is very thick. The cell wall is very thick and the thickness is found out. That is, similar thickness is found out throughout the cell wall. In case of Collenchyma, the cell wall is thick but only at the corner of the cells. But here we will see that the cell wall is similarly or thickened in similar way throughout the cell wall. Thickness is present similarly throughout the cell wall. Now what is the chemical composition of the cell wall? It is chemically made up of lignin. So in addition to cellulose, the lignin deposition is found out in case of the sclerenchymatous tissue. So remember, the cell wall of parenchymatous tissues are mainly made up of cellulose. The cell wall of collenchymatous tissues are mainly made up of pectin, and the cell wall of the sclerenchymatous tissues are mainly made up of lignin. And as The cell wall is very thick, so there is no intercellular space. So no question of intercellular space in case of sclerenchymatous tissue. So no intercellular space. We cannot find out any intercellular space in case of the sclerenchymatous tissue. So these are the basic features of the sclerenchymatous tissue. Now what is the function of the sclerenchymatous tissues? So here, as the cell wall is very thick, very much thick, so it can give the mechanical support, mechanical strength to the plant. So the plant can stand straight due to the sclerenchymatous tissues mainly. So the main function of the sclerenchymatous tissue is that it provides the mechanical strength to the plant body. So here we have learned about the three types of simple permanent tissue, the parenchyma, collenchyma, as well as the sclerenchymatous tissue. So students, till now we have learned about the different types of the simple permanent tissue. Now getting some important facts about the simple permanent tissue. We have learnt about the parenchymatous tissue, and there we have seen that parenchymatous tissue can store different food materials. They help in secretions as well as they help in photosynthesis. But how can they help in photosynthesis? So we can see that the parenchymatous tissue can be of different types. What are those? There are different types of parenchymatous tissue. Structurally they are similar to each other, but some substances, sometimes some specific substances can be stored there. In case of parenchymatous tissue, the cells of the parenchymatous tissue which have air chamber, which store air within it, they are called as the parenchyma. So the parenchymatous tissue cells which have air chambers, they are called as the parenchyma. So as it has the air chamber, it can occupy some air within it. So it helps to give the buoyancy to the plant body. Mostly this type of parenchymatous tissues, that is parenchyma, are present in the aquatic plants, which help to float the plant easily in the water. Another type of parenchymatous tissues, when the cells of the parenchymatous tissues have chlorophyll within it, they are called as the Sclerenchyma. So Sclerenchyma is a type of the parenchymatous tissues, the cells of which have the chlorophyll. So as they have the chlorophyll, so this type of parenchymatous tissues or the Sclerenchyma can help in the process of photosynthesis. So Sclerenchyma or this type of parenchymatous tissues are mainly present in the mesophyll cells of the leaf. Another type of parenchymatous tissue, that is called as the mucilage parenchyma. The parenchyma cells with large vacuoles filled up with mucilage. The vacuoles are present in the parenchymatous tissues. When those are filled up with mucilage or slippery substances, then that type of parenchyma tissues is called as the mucilage parenchyma. We can see this type of parenchyma in the leaves of the aloe and also in the stem portion of the opuntia. They can store water within this, or they can store the mucilage as well as water in the mucilage parenchyma cells. Now, what is this idioblast cells? So till now we have learned that parenchymatous tissues or the cells of the parenchyma tissue can store different substances. When they store the waste materials like tannin, oil, etc., those cells are called as the idioblast cells. So the cells of the parenchymatous tissues, when store certain waste materials like tannin, oil, etc., those cells or those type of parenchymatous tissue cells are called as the idioblast cell. So remember, it is very important as the important fact. Now these are the different types of the parenchymatous tissues. So we have seen the three types of the parenchymatous tissue. Now in case of sclerenchymatous tissue also, there are different types of sclerenchymatous tissues. The important types of sclerenchymatous tissues are sclerites and another one is sclerenchymatous fiber. So when the sclerenchymatous tissues have thick cell wall with blunt end, thick cell wall with blunt end, This is the cell wall. This is the lumen. That is the narrow space inside the cell. And when the cells of the sclerenchymatous tissues have blunt end with thick cell wall and narrow lumen, this type of sclerenchymatous tissues are called as the sclereids. They are called as sclereids. Whereas the sclerenchymatous fiber, they have pointed end, elongated cell, and thick cell wall. So these are the sclerenchymatous fiber. So the basic difference between these two type of sclerenchymatous tissue, in case of sclereids, we will get the blunt end of the cell, whereas in case of the sclerenchymatous fiber, we are getting the pointed end of the sclerenchymatous cells. Now, where can we find these two types of sclerenchymatous tissues? The sclereids are found in the pulp of guava, pulp of pear. When we eat guava, when we eat pear or apple, we feel some grittiness in the fruit. So this grittiness is due to the presence of the sclereid type of the sclerenchymatous tissue. Whereas the sclerenchymatous fiber is found out in the outer covering of the coconut, that is called as the coconut coir, and also the cotton fiber that we get, that are used as the fiber, that is made up of the sclerenchymatous fiber. So these are the different types of the sclerenchymatous tissue. So students, from here you will get some extra informations about the different types of the simple permanent tissue. So students, here we are in the most important part of the video, that the assignment portion. Here we have some questions and you have to write down the answer and practice. So from today's video, we have learned about the different types of permanent tissue, the parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchymatous tissues, their functions, their structures, and we also have some idea about the differences between these three types of tissues. In the next video, we will know about the complex type of the permanent tissue. Thank you.